cock-a-doodle who? We're cock-a-crazy about this fucking chicken.
Crazy about cock-a-doodle-doos.
Crazy like a chicken. Any others we want to... Dustin, what do you got? Off the dome.
Gnarls Barkley Crazy. Good song.
Ooh.
CeeLo Green.
Good
he
song.
said,
Yeah.
fuck you to people who don't like the chicken. Hey, welcome to a whole new pod. The podcast all about...
Disney Channel original movies.
Yeah, and mascots that are chickens or roosters. Are they the same thing? If you're a farmer, write in and tell us. Are mules and donkeys the same thing?
Are they?
Feud says so. That's an inside joke. All right, I'm your host, Lucas Melby. We've already kind of spoken out of turn already. Who else is here with me?
I'm Jacob Telejohn, the usual
Unfortunately.
company.
And Dustin here.
Dustin here for the big 75th episode.
Yep.
Dustin is checked in
And
again.
if we think back, Dustin got a pretty good hit ratio.
He's got
I
some.
think we've
some
only
goodies.
had one. What was the last one you were on, Dustin? I don't remember. It was not even that long ago.
Oh, Minutemen.
Minutemen. Oh, that was another. That was a good one. I think the worst one was the one we made you come on for. Was maybe Halloween Town High.
No.
Oh yeah, it's Life is
Life is Rough.
Life is rough. It is rough.
Life is rough.
But yes, if it's not clear already, if I'm talking about Dustin's hit ratio, I think this movie was fucking great.
Wow,
what
I'm
was it?
surprised to
Hatching
hear
Pete.
that.
Horrible name, great movie. What do you guys? How?
See, we
I don't know what I'm doing.
he's doing
I'm
finger guns.
pulling out a gun.
He's a
Quick draw takes. How do you feel about Hatching Pete?
It was.
I really enjoyed it.
There were maybe some like goofy like ideas to it, but yeah, it wasn't a
I
bad
think it
one.
was like the most I've like laughed at a Disney Channel movie when I've been on. So
What Jacob just said, in retrospect, once we talk about the movie, will seem insane. Yeah, there's like some goofy stuff in this movie, I guess, but it's like the entire premise is goofy.
It's goofy.
But yeah, I think this movie, and it's probably going to be hard for us to relay all of the jokes and just some of the writing. But
I mean, like the first
there is legitimately
scenes,
well-written
goofy
jokes and stuff in this that...
Directed by Stuart Gilliard.
Sure.
Yeah.
I believe I looked him up, and he's directed a lot of bad movies. He directed both Twitch's movies, Twitch's 2 being one of our least favorite DCOMs of all time, and certainly one of the least favorite of the ones we've watched recently. But to speak about people who are recurring characters in some of these movies, Dustin also did... Why did you pick this movie, Dustin? Was it because of...
It wasn't because of Jason Dolly.
Main guy, Jason Dolly from Minutemen and Read It and Weep. I think he'll actually end up being... He'll be in 4 DCOMs total because he's also going to be in Good Luck Charlie. It's Christmas, I think, because...
Oh, yes.
So I don't know if they were just trying to really push this guy, but he's been in a lot of these movies. I knew him from, he's like a B character, one of the main 3 characters, because the Disney Channel shows, they always got like the main character.
Yeah.
And no matter whether they're a male or female, they always have one male friend and one female friend as like a main trio.
Yes. Yeah.
And on Corey in the House, he's one of Corey's friends.
Right. Yeah.
So for him at this point, I think maybe, I don't even know if Good Luck Charlie, did I say Good Luck Chuck earlier? That's the...
Same difference.
I don't know. Jessica Alba's in that movie. It's a bad movie.
I wanted to say that Stuart Gilliard did Twitches and a movie we have yet to see, Girl vs. Monster.
Oh, cool that you said Twitches when I already said that. I don't even need to have a fucking computer in front of me.
You didn't
to
say
do
Girl
this
vs. Monster, which is...
Well, it's because we haven't seen that yet. Why would I reference something? Like, that movie is like how many years away at this point?
Like 3.
That's a billion. We still have to get through Camp Rock 2 before
Our viewers will remember.
Going back to your point,
our viewers
Lucas,
don't exist.
The reason I chose this movie, I was telling Jacob on the way over here when I picked him up that the ones that I choose just seem kind of like off the wall, kind of like weird,
Not your
oddball type
dad's
movie.
DCOM.
Yeah. Like,
DCOMers.
I will say a lot of... I think maybe I can... incept into Dustin's process. I think Dustin looks at the posters for these movies.
Yeah, I do.
And
Is this the
Eddie's
image you
$1
saw, or did you see
cook-off.
the one of them two standing next to each other with the outfits?
It was the other one, yeah.
Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. You're like, why is this kid holding a spatula, but he's dressed as a baseball player?
Yep.
Minutemen, you just don't even know what's going on, but the guys look pretty cool. And this one, probably a guy in a chicken costume. And We get that right away as we get into the start of this movie. It's a very exciting, probably the most stylistic part of this movie, actually, where it's a kind of quick cut montage with multiple frames of stuff that's happening in a way stylistically very similar to, I felt, like the Kiefer Sutherland show 24.
Wow.
All about Jack Bauer killing terrorists and breaking war crime laws. But the only war crime that's being committed in this is by Cletus, who is played by Mitchell Musso, who is somebody in the Hannah Montana show, not Hannah Montana, nor her brother. We had him in our last DCOM.
He is Hannah Montana's,
male friend.
Best friend, yeah. Yeah, next to Lily, who we saw in our last
So we're
one.
seeing a basketball team getting ready, a band kind of getting ready, as well as a mascot character suiting up. It's a chicken. It's our boy Cletus. And
Cletus.
He's a sneezy
Cletus
boy.
Pool.
He's got allergies.
Yeah, he's very sneezy. And he's sneezing in people's faces on purpose.
And he insists when people are kind of mean to him, it's quickly set up that everybody hates Cletus. Nobody gives a shit about this team mascot that's a chicken.
Going into this
is a rooster, but then never refers to it as a rooster throughout the rest of the movie.
But Lucas said this is one of the most, he read the most hated characters in DCOM history.
I looked on Letterboxd. There wasn't a lot of reviews generally about this movie. It seemed to have been a relatively underviewed movie, even less ratings than Dadnapped, which that was already not a really big hit DCOM, and there just doesn't seem to be any nostalgia fervor around Mitchell Musso or Jason Dolly for people to actually care about watching this movie. But everybody seemed to hate Cletus, so I was going into it, I'm like, I feel like I'm going to like this guy. And he is awful, but he is awful in a lovable sort of way that you don't really get in DCOMs very often, because he is a huge piece of shit.
Yes.
We also meet Jason Dolly's character, who is the titular Pete, who may or may not hatch at one point in this time.
Spoiler.
You guys remember how we meet Pete?
Wasn't he just going through the hallway? No. He was coming onto the court and
It's fitting that you don't even fully remember, because
teacher,
the idea is that nobody knows who Pete is.
The teacher with a very bad wig had no idea who he was, thought he was a different student.
Yeah, new student here.
And Mitchell Musso's character Cletus had to be like, oh, hey, Pete. And she's like, oh, you know him.
And then she says, why are you here?
Because I want the sister.
We're seeing, it's like a pregame practice maybe. There's cheerleaders there. There's the band. There's the mascot. So why is Pete there? Well, Cletus says it's likely because he wants to hit on or mac on Cletus's sister, Cammy, who is the initial love interest of Pete. Thought it was going to be a more focal point of this movie. She hardly exists in this movie, and mostly only exists to confuse us about who she actually is, as we'll get into a little bit later on in the movie. Pete is a loser, as we already kind of gathered that his own teacher doesn't even know who he is, and he gets immediately cock-blocked by cool guy Dill
Pickle,
who I looked up his character name. Is apparently named Dwayne Dill, but as far as I know, he is only referred to as Dill.
Somebody calls him Dill Pickle at one point.
But that's the deep lore of this movie, that apparently he has a first name, even though he's never referenced by it. And the thing is he's supposed to be cool jock guy. He's got some long hair, which is cooler than Pete's long hair, which is the exact same hairstyle he had in Minutemen, which is very mid-2000s.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, long boy hair. And Dill is supposed to be the cool guy, but as we'll learn, the basketball team is horrible, including
really
Dill,
bad,
who can't even make basic layup shots. And the girl, Cammy, then turns once Dill goes away, and she's like, isn't Dill so awesome? And it's like, I don't know, is he?
Like I said, he's missing, the team is bad. I don't think it can be stressed enough how bad. At one point, we get a total later on of what their point differential is.
Is the team bad, or is the coach bad?
Oh, and the coach is...
Or are they just unmotivated?
True.
Yeah.
Who's the coach, Jacob?
Oh, I was going to say the coach. I can't know. What's his actual name?
Wow, great research.
Brian Stepanek.
Research happening right
Brian
here.
Stepanek, who is also in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
All right. So this is another movie with not as chock full of various Disney Channel stars as Dadnapped, but I'm still floating the theory that this movie, which is far more of a movie with an actual plot and understanding than Dadnapped, but it's why was this made? Is there some contractual thing where these people are like, hey, you're on the show,
movies,
we'll also get you in a Disney Channel movie, so here, you're in Hatching Pete or whatever. But as I said, this movie is much better than Dad Napped. Jason Dolly, after being cock-blocked, or sorry, I should say Pete, after being cock-blocked by Dill, is depressed. He goes home. We meet his dad. Well, we should mention, this doesn't really come into play, but he drives a really junky...
Bug?
Yeah, Bug.
Beetle?
I don't know if it's a Volkswagen Bug or whatever. Doesn't really come into play that it's a crappy car, but I think it's supposed to just build on
visual
him being a loser. His dad's a mechanic. Both his parents seem to work out of their house. We see his dad, his gearhead, rubbing a bunch of grease on his head.
Big old stain, looks like Rambo.
And what is his mom's situation, Dustin?
Well, conveniently, his mom has a attached part of their house that also serves as a bakery / catering business.
Honestly, I feel like it's very inconvenient.
It could be.
Probably both to the family and customers that they have to go to a residential neighborhood maybe. But yeah, very weird setup. And maybe channeling his inner Kevin Bacon. Him being depressed, Pete goes and jumps on his trampoline, doing crazy flips and stuff like that.
Awesome flips. Like, we never see it's him, though, right, Lucas? It's a view that's quite a bit away, isn't it? You're not
his dad comes up and says, what's wrong? Oh, Dad, I think I just really fucked up with this girl. Girls just don't like me. I'm such a loser. And the dad, being a good dad's like, hey, in the words of Asher Roth, do something crazy.
Oh, do something crazy. Do something crazy.
I love college.
Freshman.
And his dad's like, yeah, I got a motorcycle, and that's why your mom liked me. And it's also set up that Pete was in gymnastics when he was younger, so we'll see how maybe he gets some of his crazy skills later on. And Pete is maybe one of the worst characters in a DCOM. I don't understand his actions for so much of the movie, whereas Cletus... I can relate to him. He's a horrible piece of shit, but he's my piece of shit.
You would say that Pete's kind of a little cuck boy.
I wouldn't say that. I would never say that.
That's what you're thinking. That's what you're thinking.
I leave that to Dustin. The mouth on this guy when we're watching the movie, we can't shut him up. And then when the mic's on, he clamps right up.
Yep.
He comes here so then he doesn't need to listen to the podcast later.
True.
That's right.
Dustin's also such an egotist that he has to listen to himself on the podcast. He plays his clips to his wife and he's like, hey, wasn't this a good
I was on the pod. I was on it.
And then I'm like, all right, well, I mean, we need Dustin's download. We need all of the numbers so we can get. So as long as Dustin's still
shout out to the Twitter.
So there's a big basketball game coming up. It's even referred to by the announcer at the game as the big game. Why is it so big? I don't know. I think it's the first game of the season, which is usually the least big game. It's all about the last game of the season.
Well,
that's when it depends.
It depends what team you are. I mean, some teams, you gotta have that homecoming. We always loved our homecoming.
But Pete says he's not going to go, which his dad is aghast about. Which kind of makes sense that his dad and mom go to all these basketball games we see, and they're such big fans.
Big boosters,
they're
right?
The Rooster Boosters. Brewster High School, the Brewster Roosters is the team. But obviously Pete's not on the basketball team, so why do they care? It's because they got strong school spirit. They're living in their glory days still. But then Cletus comes over, and he says, hey, Pete, I need some help. And what does he say? Why he needs help?
I can't take these allergies no more. I keep sneezing.
No, he says he's dying.
Well,
and he said, seriously? Like, you're dying? He's
Pete laughed immediately.
Yes.
So
Lucas pointed out, this is the time in the movie where there was, no background music, so it was kind of,
it was
serious.
really awkward.
Yeah, you could, which I was kind of fine with, because sometimes I hate they have weird, this is the Goofy song in the background. Isn't what's happening here so goofy? But it felt like low effort, but it was not a sign of bad stuff to come. It was only a weird scene.
He set it up like he was actually dying. He's like, yes, I am dying inside this costume.
I'm dying from my allergies. Can you help me out? And also give me $500.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
Where's he getting this dough?
And it's unclear whether he gives
bar mitzvah money?
Him the $500, but Pete essentially allows himself to wear the chicken costume because there's a new head to the costume, which is causing Cletus to have an allergic reaction. That's why he's still the mascot. And it's not that he was always the mascot and was always allergic. That's what's happening now. But Pete gets talked into doing this because
The family lineage.
Cletus really guilt trips him.
Pulls out the family pictures.
He's like, don't take out your wallet. Hey, I'm taking out the wallet.
That's
and
right.
He unrolls a long row of pictures of his dad, uncle.
His aunt that looks like a guy.
I guess maybe I missed the aunt. I think I
said aunt.
just remember uncle.
Grandpa.
Yeah, all of his family members who were the chicken for the Brewster Roosters. So he's like, okay, just this once, I'll do it.
But it wasn't just this once.
But it needs to be kept a secret, though, then, because of the family legacy. And it will be an extreme secret. Also, Pete is somewhat motivated by Cletus putting in a good word with his sister, Cammy. Remember Cammy, or don't remember Cammy, she really doesn't matter in this movie.
No.
Other than the fact she looks like a different girl.
So the Roosters, as we mentioned already, are horrible. Quickly get up to
20-0, right?
I think it was 30-0,
30-0.
but then they cut back and it's already 42-0.
It was bad.
Pete comes on the court and he's immediately humiliated by the cheerleaders. He falls down and we're seeing his point of view from the chicken costume, and they're all looking down on him and laughing. So it's a weird
they like it.
Some weird kink there. Where
yeah, Lucas was getting kind of squirmy there. I saw that.
Don't project onto me for yourself, Jacob.
The eyes do not lies.
He does realize then after he gets hit in the head with a basketball, and more people laugh at him, but then everybody's
pain.
looking at him.
Yeah.
So this is his chance, as we said, to do something crazy.
He
goes wild. What's he doing here, guys?
He acts a fool. Acts a proper fool.
Proper fool.
He interferes with anyone and everyone that's in his way.
He's going on the court. I mean, at least it appears he's running on the court during the middle of the game.
Well, there was no proper boundary because the coach was on the court.
That is true.
The majority of the game.
He's jumping into the coach's hands, I think. And
he does a lot with the coach. And I don't know if it's in this game or a later game, but the coach actually gets ejected. He gets a technical foul from the ref, and the ref's the coach is like, but the chicken was doing it to me. Which brought back memories of our high school basketball coaches. None of us played, but it was two math coaches who were the team coaches. It was Mr. Wolmuth and Mr. Boone. And I think Mr. Wolmuth was less severe, but both of them were funny, goofy math teachers. But on the basketball court, they were intense. And Mr. Boone once famously threw a chair across the court and then got ejected from the game.
You just doxed our math teachers.
Yeah, can work out Mr. Boone and Wolmuth, however you spell that. The coach takes off his jacket and throws it out. Again, the team's horrible. None of this should really matter that much. But the crowd does seem to at least have somewhat fun with the chicken.
They're getting a rise out of the chicken.
Doesn't one of the players make 2 free throws here too? Or is that
I don't know if anybody scores yet for the Roosters.
They're still shut out.
Okay.
So that night, he returns the suit to Cletus. Cletus is really thankful and says, hey man, this won't ever happen again.
Was he having any real flirts yet with any of the cheerleaders?
No.
Not yet.
But the next day at school,
Cletus
walking down the halls, what we always talked about, because he's not here, let's talk about Sam Blazing.
Oh, Sam Blazing.
Sam Blazing, he worked at, it's a Midwestern chain restaurant, Culver's. They hire very young. Maybe 14?
I think so.
I don't know how the child labor laws work out, but you go to one of our local Culver's, it's just it's like a daycare. There are only children working there, and there are so many children. But it still takes a while to get your food. But Sam thought he was very cool, and we always, I don't know if we should say I refer to him as Cool Sam Blazing when he'd be around his Culver's friends.
Yeah.
Cool Sam Blazing also sometimes appears on this podcast, along with Drunk Sam Blazing, and surprisingly not Drunk Sam Blazing, but still very obnoxious Sam Blazing. But Cool Sam Blazing, I always envision in my head as walking down the halls, doing finger guns, pointing left and right. And that's kind of what's starting to happen here with Cletus, is that everybody's like, hey man, good job at the game. That was awesome. And Cletus is like, damn, Pete, what did you do there?
His ego is not as big as it's going to become yet. He does not realize.
He's still confused. Except for the basketball players. They are not happy with Cletus, and they corner him in the gym to be like, hey, you made everybody laugh at us.
Yeah.
We're horrible basketball players, but they still shouldn't laugh at us. But there's a quick little side scene where there's a character who comes to the basketball game and then leaves immediately. And it's unclear who he is, but eventually we figure out that it's the principal of the school. and he loves the chicken. And I don't really quite know why, because the coach says, hey man, that chicken was causing a ruckus, and the principal's like, but he's cool, so you can't, if you touch the chicken, you're fired. It'll make a little more sense why he likes the chicken as the movie goes along, but at this point it was a little weird. So the coach intervenes with the jocks bullying. Can you really even call them jocks if they're horrible at their sport? But he goes and intervenes and says like, hey, you can't touch a feather on that chicken or you'll have to go 3 rounds with me. He challenges his students to fighting him if they get in trouble.
Yeah, like he has a couple threats throughout the movie, but after he says this though to the students, he immediately says to Mitchell Musso that wish I could let those kids pound you, but it would mean my ass. You know, it would mean me getting fired, right?
Yeah, and then one of my favorite scenes of the movie, largely due to my own mistake, is when Cletus shows up to the classroom where Pete is, and everybody starts clapping for him, including who I thought was his sister, who is sitting next to Pete and shoves him away and then asks for Cletus to sit by him and seems a little too into him. And I'm like, why is his sister doing this? Is she also his twin? Why are they in the same class? The movie made the mistake of casting 2 almost identical female blonde girls. I don't know why I said female girls, but blonde girls in the role of Cletus's love interest, and then also Cletus's sister, Cammy, who is the love interest of Pete, and almost hardly is not in the movie.
Connect all these pieces of yarn, Lucas.
So then it's not even on us to blame for us not even realizing it's not his sister, because she's hardly in this movie. But no, it's this girl, Jamie, not to be confused with Cammy.
Like, at the very start, I mean, at least I seriously was kind of confused, because, like, kind of, like,
I don't even know if Jamie was too
flirting
much of a
with his sister.
Point.
Yeah.
We had this, like, weird thing, like, he's a little, like, touchy and a little kind of goofy with his sister. This is kind of weird.
I'm sure some of it is that I'm constantly looking up and down from the movie to take notes. Because there's a part, I think, where Jamie says, hey, I'm going to get, like, the wrestlers to beat you up in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
But I thought that was his sister. Because that seems like something a mean older sister might do.
Yeah.
So yes, there's no incest going on here. They limit the kinks to fursuits and humiliation. But also what happens in this science class is that Pete and another cheerleader girl, Angela, get assigned through a delegation. Well, I think Angela volunteers, but then Pete just gets delegated to join the float committee for, I assume, homecoming or something of the sort. It's not really spelled out what it is. Though, honestly, at least in Minnesota, basketball was always a winter sport. So I don't know when their basketball season's running. And we think Utah, we always kind of assume they're in Utah.
Yeah, that's kind of just our go-to state now.
So then they go to the first float committee meeting where there's a guy named Bob who is very fixated on rockets and spaceships and making them float like that.
And then somebody just gave up.
To the point of, where a guy says, you're not taking the float serious enough, I'm leaving this committee.
Yeah.
But Pete is there with Angela, who shows up late and is required to pay $1 into the late jar.
Yeah.
Which we thought this was a
teacher just collecting money from all the students.
But it's a student, so I guess it's okay then.
Where does the money go?
She doesn't have $1.
So Peter has to loan.
He hooks her up.
Loan a buck.
Like, oh, a rich man over here.
Yeah, he's like, I got 20 more where that came from.
And her suggestion is, of course, for the float, that it involves the chicken.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves
the chicken now.
And
we do later get to see this finished product, and it was not a disappointment. I thought it was a pretty cool float.
Well, I mean, we could just wait until we get there instead of jumping ahead like 45 minutes.
I'm not describing it. I ain't describing what the float looks like.
But it's really, this is the beginning of the unclear motivation of Pete, where he's like
talking to girls.
He's like, "Oh, you like the chicken?"
Yeah.
And she's talking about like that it's Cletus, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's so cool what he does." But he's like into it, and not like taking it back by like having her be obsessed with the chicken. So he's like, "Yeah, we should do the chicken. That's a great idea."
Yeah.
And then they're leaving the committee meeting, and they're kind of hitting it off, cute little chatter. But she then brings up she has a boyfriend in Houston.
Yes.
Which is at least not where they are. They're not in Houston.
Not
we
in
can
Texas.
confirm that. He offers to give her a ride in his junky car, but that doesn't matter. That's junky. But she says that I'll walk. It's kind of my exercise, which is an awkward Good dialogue.
Just an excuse. This woman's making up excuses.
But then there's a funny bit where she talks about her boyfriend helping like a charity of trying to like, I don't know, clean up stuff. And then Pete offers to donate his car to her boyfriend.
Yeah, that was weird.
I think it was like he helps at like, I don't know if it was nursing homes necessarily, but it's something
he
to do with
yeah.
nursing homes. And they're like, they could use car donations. And he was like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll look into donating my car.
Of old people
like,
getting into that car.
Oh, no.
Dislocate a hip doing that. Jesus. Later, she says he's on like the debate team. So then it kind of turns of like, wait, is he cool or is he kind of a dweeb? This was, in Jacob's words, this is real cuck behavior. I'm like, I'll donate my car to your boyfriend's charity or whatever. They part their ways, and we'll see what might happen after that. Ooh. Because Cletus asks Pete what he did. He's like, what could you have done that everybody's so into the chicken? And he's explaining like, oh, I kind of like, like dry humped the coach.
Yeah.
Grinded on the players.
Maybe
in the
did like a flip. I think he did do a flip. Was maybe doing the worm, but it mostly seemed like he was laying on the ground.
A lot of just goofy
and apparently
antics.
This is all broken the mascot code. So Cletus is not happy about it, but he says he wants to learn the routine because he wants to be cool and do it. So he's going to watch him do it in disguise in the audience, so nobody will learn that Cletus is not in the chicken suit.
Well, not necessarily nobody, his family. Because his parents are always in the audience watching the basketball game.
But also everybody is excited about the chicken, so they're very focused on Cletus.
Has Cletus done his thing yet in the lunchroom where he's on the table dancing around?
I think so. Where he leads everybody in like...
He's like,
one more time, and they're like, fuck yeah, chicken!
Yeah, chicken!
And then he raises his fist and says, poultry power.
Poultry power.
Poultry power, not offensive.
No.
But his costume to hide is he has a green afro wig on, and then has his face painted with the school colors of yellow and green, so that nobody will know it's him. Because the most distinguishing characteristic of Mitchell Musso is his giant mop of hair.
Yeah.
And his pasty skin.
Pasty.
You described him as sickly.
He says he's sickly. He says
at the time, maybe not a lot of people had HD TVs, so they didn't really get the full image quality. But in 2022, the camera was doing Mitchell Musso no favors. I don't know how old he was either, but he seemed
he's 30 now. I believe he's 30 now.
So he wouldn't have been actually that old, but he seemed like Hannah Montana's brother, where it's like, how old is he actually? Does he have Andy Milonakis disease?
I mean, he's only a year older than us.
Well, speak for yourself. A year and a month old.
Oh, yeah.
Then he... My nose.
Uh-oh.
Pete mostly just spends his time fake making out with the coach.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
And this is maybe the game where, I think the principal comes up and he's like, stop fucking lollygagging around with the chicken.
Yes, he says that to him. And the coach is like, what? That was the chicken's fault.
And we see in the audience, along with Pete's parents, is Cletus's dad. And he says, that's my fucking boy.
Yeah.
That's my chicken right there.
Yeah, that's my fetus. My fetus Cletus.
The dad's not confused or concerned about the mascot code being broken. He's
no, he don't care.
His chicken son.
I thought the dad was almost a different father then. He seemed more like geeky and kind of like rednecky than he does later on. I thought it was like a whole different actor. I mean, it can't be right, but I just...
He doesn't have an accent, but whenever we impersonate characters, we always do an accent. I don't know, that's what we do.
Yep.
A lot of the time when Pete's in the suit, we get kind of the Iron Man look inside the suit of like Robert Downey Jr. to give his point of view, and he talks to himself a lot inside the suit, but never actually talks for anybody to hear.
No, he's always bucking and gawking and
clucks like a chicken, so nobody would know.
Doodle doing.
And I don't remember if this is that. I think it's not even to like save. No, it's not to save a girl here. But he is in the suit and he's like, Angela, the cheerleader, she's kind of cute. And he picks her up and runs out of the gym, which distracts the rival team enough that the Roosters are able to score their first 2 points of the game.
They foul
they foul the guy. And this is where he gets his free throws. Yep. He makes 2 in a row. He's like, oh my God, did you see that?
I've never done that before.
I scored a point.
That's in the final game of the
No, that's not the final game.
It is. It is the final game. Anyways.
He says that quote later on. The free throws happen here. He says that. Yes.
Because this was the only 2 points they scored in this game.
Yes.
Trust me.
That quote happens later on in the final game.
Trust me. I'll put it in the
Check
show
the
notes.
records.
It didn't happen or it did happen. I'm almost positive.
The free throws happened here. They do not happen in the final game.
Anyway, I'll pull it up silently on my phone as we're doing this.
Oh.
But he takes Angela out into the school hallway.
And like we thought, or at least I did, I thought maybe he was going to like reveal himself to her, like, "Hey, this is me. Look at me." But he doesn't.
He just likes the anonymity of like being able to like.
It's
swoop
exceptionally
her away.
weird because she's talking to him, but he's only balking and clocking and gesturing around,
and
she's in love with them.
Yes.
So he conveniently has a flower bouquet in the janitor cart.
Yeah.
There's a janitor cart by them that has flowers.
Flowers. He takes that and he gets down and gives it to her, but then he hears the crowd starting to scream and yell and
when
balk
she
for the
looks
chicken.
away,
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, he pulls a Batman on her.
Disappears
and
into the night.
The entire time I'm like thinking of me being a loser in high school, being like, I'd love a girl to fall in love with me in a chicken suit. It's like, why doesn't he just take off the fucking hat? But he doesn't.
He can't.
And he has so many opportunities with her. These girls are just in the palm of his fucking hand.
Yeah.
And he won't take off the goddamn chicken
Well,
head.
because nobody, like we've established earlier in the movie, though, nobody, like, outside of this girl that he just brought out into the hallway, nobody else knows who he is or cares who he is.
They like who the chicken is, not who the person inside the chicken.
But Angela knows who he is.
That's what I said.
From the float committee. He has an in already.
Yeah.
His inferiority complex makes some sense, but here it's just like... And I think Angela does well in this movie. I don't know the actress's name, but she's a cute girl. I would be taking off that hat, being
sweaty.
the chicken
cock-a-doodle-doo.
costume, and
cock-a-doodle-doo.
The dreams would have come true.
Any cock-will-do.
Does not happen. So yeah, he Batman's away, and they don't win the game or anything, but people love the fucking
They scored like
they
2
like
points.
The spirit.
They scored the 2 points, right, Dustin?
Yeah,
the 2 free throws.
I mean, I'm not saying they don't score the 2 points. I'm just talking about the context of how they score the 2 points.
Yeah.
So then Cletus asks Pete to just do the chicken full time.
Yeah.
And he kind of sets it up in a weird way where he's kind of, I don't know, it's still about like the legacy. And then he was like, oh yeah, I said I was going to buy this suit that wouldn't be allergic to me, but I lied. That doesn't exist. So Cletus comes off as real like sociopathic manipulator here.
Yeah. So this is when the ego is building. The ego is starting to build. I mean, I think it happened really at that moment when he's on the lunch table doing that whole thing.
Probably when like people are coming up to him in the halls and be like, hey, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So now he's starting to get like, hey, I can be cool without even really having to do anything. Basically, the rest of the movie is just him being a...
What's happening?
I'm showing them the clip.
2 points.
That is the game. You will see. She's saying that chicken should be mine. The chicken is being taking the girl out in the hallway.
Lucas got us.
When did the free throws happen?
In the last game of the movie, like I said. Like I'm the one taking notes for this or something.
You're supposed to expose us next week and nobody remembers us and cares.
Man, the adrenaline pumping live.
He is frisky.
He's rock hard right now.
He is erect.
I'm the chicken.
I can see the veins.
Oh man.
Oh.
Just seeing that clip now, I knew what was happening afterwards. I'm like, oh, that's too far. I gotta go back. Because Pete agrees to do this because he's a
little cuck boy. He's a little...
Like some other people in this room.
He put it at Dustin, not even me. What the heck?
I don't know. We're using the internet term of the right wing where everybody's a cuck, but actually now everybody's groomers, I guess. Or pedophiles.
Wow.
But we're not going to throw that around.
Jacob.
Whoa, what the hell?
If somebody was going to be out of the three of anyways, Angela and
what is happening right now?
Go shopping for supplies for the float committee. Very much like the picture of Ben Shapiro buying a single board from Home Depot. They just buy like 2 boards from this hardware store
ball of twine
and put it in the back of a pickup truck, and it's like the only stuff there.
Yeah.
But Angela's just talking the whole time about partially her boyfriend. Yes. I guess this is where we're starting here. Like she doesn't like him because he's on the debate team. He's always arguing, but also
he's very
Cletus.
Abusive. No, we don't.
Cletus, but it's weird that people call him Poole all the time. That's his last name.
Cletus Poole.
But it's like, man. You name a character Cletus in your movie, and you hardly have anybody actually call him Cletus.
That's a shame.
You can't do that, man. But in this situation, Pete is still... He could just say, hey, I'm the fucking chicken. But he does.
Because he's a little cuck boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, we probably gotta kill.
Cut that out. All these are getting cut.
So the team is going to an away game, which seems like a pretty crazy test for the chicken. And we see the chicken... They're fucking going insane. This is basically a party bus. Everybody's losing their mind because the chicken's riding with them. The cheerleaders are cheering. They're like a chicken-specific chant, being like, we love the chicken.
But somebody's not too happy, or somebody's a little
Dill.
upsetty spaghetti. Dill Pickles.
Dill's like, Cletus is a fucking loser.
Yeah.
This couldn't be Cletus in the chicken suit.
I mean, at least I thought it was still
Well, the entire
Pete.
time, he's still only communicating...
bucking and
even
clucking.
to that girl, Jamie, who's now
Yes.
essentially his girlfriend because everybody loves the chicken
Not
so
the
much.
sister, the one that looks like the sister. That's
No, this
not
is
the
where we
sister.
were like, here, look at these two.
Yes.
They're here in the scene together. They look so close to
Yes.
each other. But he's still only like balking and clucking.
I thought it was Pete still in the outfit.
It's a fun reveal that they take
Yeah.
off the head, and it is Cletus underneath.
And we're like, where the hell's Pete? And they don't show him.
They show some cars of fans
Yeah.
driving along with the bus to the away game, not including Pete's very notable bug.
Yeah.
But Pete's already at the school somehow.
Yeah.
And there's a very goofy, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid kind of sneaky thing where...
There's a janitor, and he's jamming out.
Yeah, so Cletus is looking for Pete, and it's like, where is he? Oh, here's this janitor who's listening to music. He doesn't know what's happening behind him. Pete suddenly appears out of a closet, pulls Cletus
him
in there,
inside.
and the janitor turns around and is like, what's happening here?
This janitor is very notable for
This
later
janitor,
on.
who's at a different school than Brewster High School.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Appears later on in the film.
So they switch out the costume, and they go out, and it's clear that the fans from Brewster High are not there for the basketball team. They are there because they love the fucking chick.
That's fucking right.
And the team's not happy about it, but Pete's performance with the enthusiasm of the crowd starts to kind of pump up the team.
Yeah.
They start doing okay.
And some points.
Not going to win, but they're doing okay.
They scored like 20, didn't they, this game?
I don't remember. I just remember when they scored 2.
Oh.
But Pete makes one fatal mistake because this is the second time I had to ask Dustin because, he's sports knowledgeable compared to me. Do players always fly into the audience and hit audience members? Because there's an old lady who gets hit in a different game, but here there's a player flying towards the cheerleaders.
I mean, that has happened.
In high school, it's probably not as common.
No, I don't think players are going that hard.
No.
Nobody's committed.
They're never going to make it to the league. But instead of saving Jamie, who's in direct way of this player running at them, he saves Angela.
Yeah.
And Jamie gets a bloody nose. We actually see her bloody nose.
She's bleeding and she has bandages later on in the film.
Yeah.
And she cries like a
She
child.
does cry like a
She's
child.
like, you're my chicken. Why did you do this?
Yeah.
And Cletus
She's
freaks
upset.
out on him after the game. And he says, hey,
They're in the closet, so they made it back to the closet here.
trapped in the closet.
And he's helping them undress. They're getting out of the uniform. And this is like their first kind of big fight, I think. I would say, their first kind of big confrontation.
Yeah, and this is the point where Pete, for the first time, says, I think I like Angela. And it's like, well, the sister's hardly been in this movie, so hopefully you choose Angela. And this is the only moment where he really seems confident in revealing himself. And Cletus immediately talks him out of it.
No. We made a promise. We made a deal, right?
And he gets the bask in all of the love from Angela because she follows them and is like, hey, Cletus, or Poole, you in there? So he comes out and has a real suave conversation. That's actually pretty funny because she clearly likes him, but for these weird intangible characteristics that have come through Pete's nonverbal performance in the chicken suit, where she's like, oh, you're so sensitive, but he's like, no, I bet you're going to say, I'm a superhero, like Superman, because I'm in a costume.
Yeah, and then she knows they're superheroes. And she's like, what about his friend?
Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
That's kind of a deep cut for a teenager
man.
in 2009.
Jeez.
And then somehow they talk about, oh, you seem kind of like a shy guy. And Cletus was like, oh, I didn't know that. And she says, I like shy guys, I always pick them in Mario Kart.
Ooh.
I pick the orange shy guy.
And here they're about to, smooch.
And this whole time we're also seeing action or reaction shots
And
of
he's
Pete out of view of Angela just being like, oh, I'm a
should
shy
be
guy.
me. Should be me out
What
there.
is this?
Yeah.
So then she is going in for a kiss, but Pete intervenes by redirecting Cletus's head
into a locker.
to the wall.
Smashes his head into the wall or locker or whatever it is.
And that's kind of... There's not enough of...
And he's like, oh, man, this happens at least like twice a week or something. He's like, oh, shoot,
There's not enough conflict, I feel like, between these two.
No.
Because Cletus is really a piece of shit. But this movie still doesn't even go quite in the direction... Well, folks, what you just picked up on there is something that every good podcast has happened from time to time, where
the lost episode.
Thankfully, not too much was lost. The power went out at my house, and we record on a laptop I have that's over 10 years old. I have a new laptop, and we recorded one episode on it, and it sounded weird, so we've kept with the old laptop, but it doesn't have a working battery. So when the power went out at my house, it lost the episode. Thankfully, Audacity is a good program. We were able to recover the episode.
Hallelujah. But we have lost our energy.
Yes, it has around 2 hours at least has transpired since we were last recording.
Dustin was laying in a bed. Lucas was looking at old yearbooks, and Jacob was laying on the floor.
Jeez, man, it really depressing. But I was gonna.
Lucas ate a tuna salad sandwich.
Jacob and Dustin have not eaten since lunch. It's 10 o'clock at night.
So that's why we might have a change in some energy. But thankfully, we were having a fun episode, and all of our good bits were saved, and we didn't need to soullessly try to recreate them.
Later. We'll be coming around.
Yeah,
once we get into
let us warm up here when we start talking about cuck boys and stuff, and
maybe I'll get quiet from time to time as I quickly look over at the computer to see if
it's loading,
something else is going wrong. But our levels will be a little slightly different. But hey, our stuff sounds bad some of the time anyway, so it could be worse. So I believe what I last was talking about was how there isn't enough conflict between Mitchell Musso character Cletus. That's this movie. We're hatching Pete. This is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And Pete.
This was in relation to them, the kiss at the locker that might have been.
Yes. I mean, we got all of that in. This is more me talking about how Minutemen, I thought, the Jason Dooley character in that, what was his name? Virgil, I believe.
Virgil. Yep. Virgil
he
Green.
was going to get jealous of the nerdy kid who was saying he was cool with the Minutemen or whatever, and that he'd want to expose himself to everybody. And I thought, hearing about the plot of this movie, that's what was going to happen. He'd get upset with Cletus. My phone's actually telling me this is my bedtime. But he'd get upset with Cletus and then want to reveal himself. But really, we only get that moment with him and Angela, or like right after that game. And then he doesn't ever want to reveal himself in an extremely frustrating way as we continue on in the movie.
Yeah.
And speaking of this conflict that is largely non-existent, the next bit we have, weirdly, Cletus is talking about how he's a fraud, and he doesn't like that I don't know if he's concerned about his family's legacy or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's talking about revealing himself.
So he wants to, he's like, I don't want anybody to think I'm not who I am or whatever.
And this is happening at the big construction time for the school float.
Verbally loud, where people could hear them, potentially.
It's very much, if fans are of Persona 5, there is the character Ryuji who wants to tell everybody that they're the phantom themes of that, and he always is talking very loudly around other people. That was a reference I wanted to make in Minutemen, but I couldn't remember the character's name Ryuji for some reason, and I was very disappointed in myself.
There are a lot of audience members that know who that is.
And we kind of floated, or I did, or Jacob did, I don't know, that this was maybe some weird, continuing manipulation of Cletus in his sociopathic ways, that he was doing some four-dimensional psychological chess with
we gotta
Pete
do
here.
it, and he's like,
we
no.
We need to do it so that Pete would feel like he's a bad friend if he's trying to not do what his friend really wants.
I don't think
I don't know if the darkness is there completely, but I mean, Cletus is one of the worst characters in Disney Channel history.
Well, yeah, and like there's no point in the movie where he really faces a reckoning, really.
No. I mean, if anything, the time of his reckoning, he gets to do a drum solo,
and he gets like a root beer.
Yeah, that's actually his time of reckoning. He just gets out of there.
Yeah.
In this moment, though, this is the floats committee. Who isn't there? It's Angela. She's not there. Pete recognizes this, so he just goes driving around town, finds her walking on the side, crying.
Yes.
And he finds out that her long-distance boyfriend in Houston had broken up with her via text.
How sad.
He's able to cozy up to her, commiserate. They have some funny bits that I didn't even remember when we were originally recording this part, and I definitely don't remember now. But it's a cute little moment.
This is where she says a certain line.
It's not.
I thought this is where she says it to him, and then he says it to her.
It's not. And also within the extra time that we had, I was able to extra confirm that the 2 points happened not via free throw, but to own up to my own inaccuracies. Still not as wrong as Jacob and Dustin, who were so confident.
Said it wasn't the last game.
The guy shooting the free throws, that
Yes.
does not happen in the last game. It happens at this away
middle
game, the one where there's the janitor. And you're listening to this podcast.
Hey, what
that
the
happened
fuck?
to you like 5 minutes ago, but for us it was 2 hours.
We were both wrong. Nobody was right. Nobody's ever right in love and war.
I mean, you were initially wrong and very confident.
I said,
I think that happens.
Check the record. I said the last game.
I mean, we didn't
not
lose
the
that part of
last
the
game.
episode. So.
No, you'll know. You people will have just heard that.
So now they seem to be getting even extra close, but even still, I think she's still making some comments maybe about, she doesn't call him Cletus, she calls him Pool, the chicken. But even here, it's like, just freaking say you're the chicken, Pete. Come on.
You know she likes the chicken.
You know she likes the chicken. Girls love the chicken.
Ooh.
And guys. Young, old, everybody loves the chicken.
Loves the chicken.
They're cuckoo.
Loves to cock-a-doodle do it.
I mean, chickens don't say cuckoo. That was bad.
Oh,
actually,
cuckoo.
Good. Another power outage coming. All right, and then this is the part we didn't. This is close to where it cut out for us, and Jacob is doing some lovely crinkling of wrappers that I told him to throw away before we started recording. We get to the parade, the parade that the float was for, homecoming or the like.
Yeah,
we're introduced to. I mean, he's not better than Cletus, but maybe my second favorite character in the movie, Sheriff Lou.
He kind of like comes off as like he was giving me vibes of Dukes of Hazzard, kind of. The sheriff in that one, kind of.
Well, I don't know anything about Dukes of Hazzard, and I think you've alienated our audience horribly. But he has a deputy with him who seems to be his nephew because he refers to the sheriff as Uncle Lou.
Yes, and he is very upset about that.
He says, "Don't call me Uncle Lou." As you might suspect from a sheriff who seems to be...
He's kind of like redneck. I don't know.
Performing nepotism, allowing his family members to work for him.
He's got a big hat.
He's maybe not as popular, though he thinks he's popular because he's like, oh, these people love me. They all voted for me. And then he says, well, Uncle Lou, man, not everybody voted for me.
Not everybody,
So, you know, kids love the local sheriff election. But he gets a kind of prominent place in this ceremony, bringing back, I think it was our Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off episode where we roasted the parade at Stewart Fest of Jacob Telejohn's family. They ran the Stewart Fest.
Yeah.
This at least had a couple floats, but then they just have the sheriff in like a convertible.
Oh yes, we didn't talk about the float yet.
I'm pretty sure that's where I noticed we were cut off.
Yeah.
So now I set you guys up. What was on this float that featured the chicken so prominently?
Yeah, it had
it had a bunch of people.
Squad.
Yeah, and they were all in chicken costumes.
No.
Right?
No, they were in there.
On the float. There were people in chicken costumes on the float.
No, they didn't have costumes. They had like those foam chicken hats.
Is that all it was?
Yeah.
I thought there was like a bunch of...
There's all these times where I try to throw it over to you guys, give Dustin a chance to talk, then Jacob just chimes in and he's fucking so wrong.
But in the middle of this float was a egg that was cracked.
Yes.
And soon to be revealed was...
You could say that maybe something hatched out of it.
Yeah, perhaps you could. Yeah.
Who? Well, it's the chicken. We only know him as the chicken. I mean, who else would
the chicken.
Pete? Who is this Pete? It's not Pete underneath there.
No.
And then we are treated to the song Let It... I think it actually is called Let It Go. I didn't quite realize.
Let It Go.
It's not that Let It Go, but it's by Mitchell Musso and some other girl I didn't recognize the name of. When the power ran out, the song was stuck in my head when I was making my tuna fish sandwich.
And we do hear this song
it's a mini banger.
Twice.
Mitchell Musso kind of like, I guess, raps in it. It's interesting. But then they have a full dance routine. The cheerleaders and the chicken have planned out.
Who pulls them up onto the float?
Angela, I believe.
Yep.
So
out of the crowd.
Cletus wants to see all this happen.
He's in like a cowboy uniform?
Yeah.
Or outfit, whatever.
Yeah, his disguise now is a cowboy because he wants to see what's happening probably so that he can...
He's got a big hat on, goofy hat, like a big goofy hat. He's got like a mustache.
And he gets pulled up. And it's insane that they just pulled up a random person. There were other people dressed up. There was a kid wearing a chicken costume. But they pull up Cletus. So it's a very contrived way to reveal that he is not the actual person in the chicken costume. Because as he's dancing, his fake mustache falls off. And By golly, that's Cletus.
That's not my son, or my son's supposed to be in that unit.
Yeah, the dad's like, but if that's my son,
who's
in
that?
the chicken costume?
And people lose their shit.
Yep.
People start going crazy.
It's like some Frankenstein stuff.
Pete starts to go crazy, and
Yeah.
He steals the sheriff's. I didn't realize it was the sheriff's
Grand
convertible,
Theft
but it was.
Auto. Grand Theft
It's funny that he
Auto.
first dives into the back seat
I thought somebody was
to
going to
then
drive
roll
him.
over into the front
Yeah,
seat.
I thought Mitchell Musso was going to drive him away.
So he knows how to drive. We've established that with his bad car. And he drives away in the chicken costume, crashing through a gigantic hay bale wall.
And the hay's falling and it lands on people's hair.
Hay is just falling for days.
Arwen's got a mouthful of it.
Who?
The coach.
Oh.
Erwin.
I was like, Arwen. Aragorn's love interest for the Lord of the Rings trilogy? I don't think Liv Tyler was in this. So he drives away, and then I think we eventually...
Erwin.
No, it's R. Definitely don't try to fucking correct me on Lord of the Rings.
Who's Erwin?
Dude, you have missed already, and you're going to miss very hard there.
That's fine.
So they arrest, I don't know under what charges, but they arrest Cletus.
Is he arrested? Or is he
I
just
think they're
detained?
cuffing him. They're putting his
Detained.
hands behind his back.
Oh, man.
And then we
Aiding
cut
and
back
abetting.
to Pete, who we see runs into his backyard of his house. It's like, why didn't he take the chicken costume off? Everybody could have seen him run around town.
Yeah.
But he takes it off and then throws it in like the trunk of his car. And then goes and just is walking depressed on the side of the street, which is what you do. That's what Angela did earlier. And lo and behold, Angela,
what I do.
who used to always be about walking, now has a car, sees him on the side of the street looking depressed. So Cletus is taken to the sheriff's office by Uncle Lou. But Cletus, he's a good guy. He does not reveal Pete's identity. And I guess he requests a root beer float. He doesn't get it because his dad comes and Uncle Lou's just like, yeah, sure, you can take him.
Just let him go.
We don't have any real charges.
No.
And
But they were going to get the root beer float, and then, yes, that's when his papa came in.
And Cletus's dad, I think Cletus says, oh, I was having somebody else do this for me because I'm allergic to the head. And Cletus's dad's like, I was allergic to the head.
But I put up with it. Son, you make me proud.
So Cletus apologizes, but then he's like, no, I'm proud that you lied to me about doing this. Because he's like, I don't
bad
care
messages
about
for children.
the legacy. I just care about my son being happy.
Yeah.
And if my son being happy means lying to everybody about being the chicken, then I guess, I'm a proud daddy. Proud papa.
Yeah.
Did we miss when Angela came up upon Pete? Is that where she dropped?
We're kind of in the middle of that. I'm trying to follow my notes.
Okay.
Got a bit of a break. So
Is that where she dropped the mystery line?
The
first time?
I think so. I think, yeah, it is here. So they have not as cute of a moment as earlier, but yeah, she's talking to him. So who do you think the chicken is? And I'm like, oh, come on. Cletus has like one friend. And like there's so many like dangling little bits.
Yeah.
And still, frickin' Pete won't say he's the goddamn chicken.
It is kind of
Just
weird.
grow a pair. Become
Come on, you
the
little cuck boy.
And then, yeah, well, you can try it. Do you know what she says, Dustin?
I don't know exactly what she says.
All right.
Was
give
it
me
something
a
about
second.
being a hero?
Oh, yeah, she likes mystery. And she's like, well, maybe I won't like the chicken when I know who he is. because
Yeah.
Sometimes the mystery is better than knowing the
Yes.
answer or
Yes.
something like
yes,
that.
Yes, that was it.
Yep.
Something.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's very
like-
similar.
I think she likes Pete enough. She's not going to be that mad about it.
No.
Who could it be? We've never met
She's
any
the
other
only
characters
guy
besides
that-
like Dill.
Yeah.
So-
He's really the only guy she showed interest in.
Oh, I did write down a couple of her other lines. A very cognizant and self-reflective line of, I almost fell in love with a guy in a chicken costume who didn't talk at all. Like, what's wrong with me?
But that falling in love with a guy in a chicken costume comes into play later on at the end of the movie.
And
like,
her-
literally.
The line that also got a big laugh out of me was, do you think the chicken will come back? Pete, do you think the chicken will
Well,
come
I'm
back?
kind of curious beyond this movie, and we can...
Jacob doesn't remember if the chicken came back.
No.
Jacob's got the memory of a freaking goldfish. It's already hard enough that we record immediately after watching the movie. Let
2
alone
hours, I
2
don't remember the
hours
movie.
later. Time for another basketball game. But where's the chicken? Everybody's all hyped up for this chicken. And
This is like a
Yeah,
real...
they were-
like people
they
are
were gonna-
pissed and sad. And
this is the dark middle portion of the movie. There is a chicken that comes out, though.
What were you going to say, Daddy?
Yeah, they had the coach had the team banner like
Ready.
ready,
They're ready
and
to
they
run
They
even
save
through
it for the chicken.
they saved it for the chicken,
Yeah.
especially, and comes this like.
So, did they already do their interview on TV? No. Or not yet? Let's come up.
Hey, just have some faith in me, Telejon, that I remember what happened in this movie, and I will guide us through fine.
Okay, we'll see.
But this fake chicken is in the shoddy costume. He's not doing the cock-a-doodle-doo right.
No,
who is this guy?
He's
in
bad.
Just as baffling moment as the worst episode of Scooby-Doo, we get the reveal that it is
the janitor.
The janitor
from the other school
that worked at the other school.
He says something
that
too.
Didn't even appear in another scene other than when he was surprised by something he didn't see happen behind him happen.
He says something as they're taking him off the court.
He said, "I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for Cletus." Cletus sounds like a character who would be revealed in a Scooby-Doo cartoon. This is the part of my notes where my pen ran out of ink and I had to get a different pen, and now it's kind of hard to read. All the fans then leave after seeing this fake chicken, and also the cheerleaders too. They have no motivation to cheer for the basketball players without the chicken. We check back in with the school's principal. That plot continues where he's like, "There is fucking money riding on this chicken coming back, coach. I don't give a goddamn about your horrible fucking team, but we need that chicken for concession money, for ticket sales.
That's true.
Get that chicken back." And apparently the sheriff does not care anymore about, as his nephew said, Grand Theft Automobile, or GTA Mobile, or whatever the hell. That chicken stole my car. That's a great Jim Gaffigan bit. Maybe I'll put that at the end of the episode.
Oh, no.
Anyways, the sheriff is such a big fan of the chicken, too, and who wants the team to do well that he waives the charges. He doesn't care that the chicken tried to steal his car, or actually stole his car. And then they have a school assembly where the principal tells him to announce to, like, the whole school body that, like, hey,
we know the chicken's out there. We need you.
The chicken's amongst one of you.
Yeah. He says the chicken will not face any consequences, and we need you.
We won't get mad at you.
Nobody will try to find out who your identity is.
I went to the bathroom.
He's about to stand up.
But he had like a long period of time, and then it was like everybody was getting up to leave, and wasn't that when he was about to say something?
Well, no, he started to get up to speak, and then as soon as he was getting up, the bell rang, so then everybody else got up and left.
The bell rang? It was outside.
Right? There was a reason everybody else got up. He was standing up before.
Well, as I said, I was in the bathroom. And
Something
Jacob
happened.
Can't remember anything in this movie.
No?
So
we're
out
after.
of luck. We don't know what happened. Another game happens, and a riot basically almost occurs. There's this old lady we haven't talked about, but she's been in every game. She's like a super fan, which is weird because, I don't know, maybe at one point in time the team was actually good, but she comments on how horrible the team is and how much the coach sucks. And then she just becomes a super fan of the chicken. Yeah. She almost basically leads a riot of people being pissed off that the chicken's not there.
She leaves.
So I think this is a weird shot where the sheriff rolls up and we see on the school parking lot that there's paw prints painted on the asphalt. And this is at Brewster High School. This is in a different school. It's like, why would the Brewster Rooster School have paw prints?
Paw prints.
Maybe this school isn't real and this movie is not. This is a work of fiction.
Fraud.
Could be.
There's continuing concern about where is this chicken?
She throws something at somebody, doesn't she?
She whacks him with her chicken purse.
That's what it is. Yeah, she's whacking. She's assaulting people in front of the police officer.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the sheriff's crooked as they come. So.
That's true.
Is this soon after this is when the principal wheels out the
rooster signal?
The rooster signal.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, as you would imagine... We talked about him being like Batman earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
This is a bat signal with a rooster on it.
Superman.
Which is...
No, we mentioned Batman.
You might have.
He left like Batman at the hallway.
Oh, yeah, we mentioned Batman. I thought you were trying to say that Superman has a fucking bat signal thing. And I'm like,
no.
How wrong can a man be in a single podcast episode?
This is just, it's like the movie never happened for me.
None of this ever happened.
You're reading checks mixing on your phone at the time.
No, I mean, I remember the movie. I was there watching
you've had a decent track record of somehow remembering very minute details that I end up being wrong about. But not this time.
Too much time has passed.
Chickens have come home to roost, so to speak.
Too much time has passed.
Which is weird. Like, why would... They know the rooster goes to school. The rooster's definitely aware that he's no longer going to these games.
Yeah.
He doesn't really need to be signaled to come to the games. He knows what's going on. But what's better is there is a school talk show.
Has a really nice setup, really nice production team.
but the rooster is using a voice changer, so we don't know who it is. But we see that it's the costume, and the last time we saw the costume, it was within Pete's trunk. But could this be Cletus? Could this be a replacement costume?
It's not Cletus.
No, we see Cletus watching it in the lunchroom nearby Angela.
Yes.
And the chicken says, hey,
that
you know
line.
what? I'm not going to come back. I'll be watching from the stands because sometimes the mystery is better left unsolved.
And then she knows.
Magic stuff. And then Angela's like,
oh, tits.
huh?
Oh.
And this is initially seemed like a cute little thing. But when it gets to the end of the movie, it's like, oh no, actually Pete is still stupid and dumb.
It was in his subconscious.
I even say he gives the mystery line for Angela, but he doesn't. We actually don't know who is in the chicken costume. That's not revealed here.
It's got to be him.
No, it is him.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not revealed.
No.
Here. He doesn't like go off stage and take off his hat and be like, oh, phew, that was a tough one. He gave me some hard questions.
Yeah.
He talks to Cletus, says he's worried people won't like him. This is Pete. He's saying that people will see him and that he's the chicken and then will retroactively hate the chicken because it's him. And we've already established that his defining characteristic, besides being a huge bitch, is that nobody knows who he is. And the one person he probably cares the most about knowing who he is and being the chicken already likes him outside of being the chick.
Yeah.
And that person is
his sister.
Cletus's dad. Yeah, Cletus's sister. Remember her? We hardly do because we haven't recorded for over 2 hours. Yeah, I don't even think she really gets even like any focus. She'll be like in the background of scenes, and she's like such a person I don't remember that it's like I don't even know if that's actually her or if it's just another background actress there. Cletus says that he's letting people down, and Pete just walks away. He's like, they need the chicken.
Yeah, they need the cock-a-doodle-doo.
And they don't call it the big game because we already got that. That was the first game of the season, I think. Now we're at the last game of the season.
Last game, the final finale.
The Roosters still haven't won. Could they win this game? Jacob was very invested in whether they'd win this game. And I was
I said they
it'd
would.
be cool if they win,
They
but
have
it's
to
more
win.
important if Pete comes and reveals that he's the chicken and Telejohn's like, no, basketball game. I need to see Dill do a dunk.
Del Pickle's got it.
All right, well, maybe explains how you don't remember other aspects of the movie because you were focusing on
the win. I need the dub.
So they're at a mystery school. It seems to be their school, but a gym is suddenly very much bigger than the gym they played in before.
Like you said, it's not the same gym, but it is their gym because it has the logo on the floor.
Playing on like the JV court, but it's like
that is possible. What if they were playing? We used to have, didn't we have 2 gyms at one of our school, like a small one and then a big one?
I think so, but like they were the team.
Yeah,
they're just really bad.
Definitely.
It's like, the volleyball team gets the bigger gym.
There's going to be
now.
500 people.
500 people. There's huge banners of just the chicken.
Yeah.
So it means it's their school. It's completely different than their other school.
Like there was a logo in the middle of the court of the chicken.
It's insane.
Yep. The fandom is real.
And how do they start out this game, Dustin?
I don't remember.
They're down. Yeah, they're down. The chicken is not here, so they're down at least 10, 15 or something.
Or is the chicken here?
Oh.
The lights go down. By God, it's Judah Maccabee.
Oh, shit, Judah.
Bring the Festival of Lights.
From the fucking rafters.
But no, what's that up there? I think they shine the rooster signal up?
Probably, yeah.
And it's like the outline creates like a light. I don't know. I'm not an electrician. It didn't seem accurate to how the rooster signal would look.
It should maybe have the symbol be the middle.
Usually it's the bat signal. The bat is the dark part. It's the outline. Yeah. But in this, the rooster was the light part, if that makes any fucking sense. I just want to be done. I'm just kidding. I love this movie.
Or not.
And then the rooster does...
He dies.
He does a better Owen Hart than Owen Hart because he doesn't die ziplining down from the rafters.
and this is where they've kept that poster intact for him to dive through.
Pull up the fucking poster.
They get the poster. He comes swinging down like Tarzan. He does a flip like midair and lands on his feet.
Yeah, just like the rooster signal
through
did
the
not
poster.
Scientifically seem to make sense. He is able to break through this banner.
And his guide wires are magically gone.
Disconnect from his harness that then just disappears in the thin air. And he's actually doing a flip through the paper.
That's pretty wild.
Quite an entrance.
Cool. We like that.
Understandably, crowd goes wild.
Yes.
Immediately, we get the Mitchell Musso song from earlier. It's played again.
Another
Gym-wide dance party. even like the rival team
So
is getting in.
this is all during the middle of a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
They took a timeout because they were so bad. Dill Pickle takes a timeout, and then this all happens. It's like a 5-minute thing. Like timeouts are like 30 seconds.
The audience is getting in on it. The band starts playing.
Like you said, the other team was even feeling it, and the coach had to hit one of the kids. Stop.
The team is starting to turn it around, and then the crowd is cheering. You know, check in.
Yeah.
And they want him to take his head off. And we haven't really talked about it, but there's always a commentator there, which is weird because their team's so horrible, but it's piped into the gym so everybody can hear it. And he says, "Come on, chicken, we can't take it anymore."
Yeah, he was like intense.
Take your head off.
Was this the same kid that was running the show?
I think so.
Yeah.
He's the AV kid there, I guess.
Gotcha.
So he takes the head off, and
Who's that?
The reaction is,
Who?
I don't know who that kid is.
Who the fuck is that? It's Pete. Pete.
But Angela knows. She actually runs up to him, and as he's taking the hat off, so before she sees his face, she says,
Pete.
"I know it's you."
I know it's you. Pete.
Crowd cheers anyway, because of course, I mean, they like the chicken. Why would it matter if he was a literal who?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, who starts the cheering is Mitchell Musso's character.
And this is where we learn. He's like, "Well, how did you know it was me? Well, didn't you say that mystery line on purpose or whatever?" He's like, "Oh, no, I guess I just thought that was a cool line. I didn't even think it came
That was
from you."
subliminal.
Like, B?
Yeah, I don't know why they couldn't have used that and like, yep, that's why I like that line. You know, I don't know.
Pitch. Pete is too much of a bitch.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then party continues, and Mitchell Musso gets on a drum set that somebody else was already playing earlier with the band. But then that guy, I think, is now playing the tuba, and Mitchell Musso just gets to play on the drums. So no, as we said, no real comeuppance for Cletus. He gets let out of jail free. He gets
game
a drum
goes
solo.
Nuts.
He tries to kiss a girl in the audience, and
that was weird.
And she's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Sorry, I just thought everybody really liked the chicken."
Yeah, that was weird.
I used to be the chicken. Then they're down by 2, and then
they're actually scoring points this game.
They're scoring a lot all of a sudden. Like they're dunking. One of the guys like, "I didn't know I could dunk," and then the coach is like, "I got a player on my team that can dunk."
Sorry, I forget to focus on the real important stuff.
Yeah, give me more sports. I need more sports. Sports movies.
And then it ends with a buzzer beater 3-pointer. They make it in, win by 1. At this point, Angela, another cheerleader, and Pete in the chicken costume are raised up by the cheerleaders. He falls down, brings Angela with him. It's a very anime-style girl landing on top of the boy, or boy landing on top of the girl. So
this is a callback to when she said, "I'm falling for a chicken." And then so here she literally falls into a chicken's arms. Then she makes that comment like, "Oh, remember I said fall for a chicken?"
Did she say that?
Yeah.
All right, I thought you were just reaching as like hell. I don't know if I can trust it.
No.
And then they have an extremely awkward kiss as he's laying down and she's reclined on top of him. She's
and mid smooch, that's when Mitchell Musso comes over.
We get real late and wild.
Oh wow, that was a good one. That's a good little peck. You're like a chicken.
Yeah.
Little chicken.
Yeah, little
and then
chicken.
they continue to have a bit of a final celebration, and then it's just cut into credits. There's a pop punk song playing, and that was Hatching Pete.
The rear end, or the last hour of the movie went quicker than the first 30 minutes of the movie did.
This long storied night that we've had.
Are we still recording?
We are. Okay. We're still live.
Thank God.
Dustin.
Yep.
Do you regret after, for whatever reason, how the events of tonight have
This has
transpired?
been like a 6-hour ordeal.
Sure. How do you feel, Dustin, at the end of the day?
I'm tired. I've been up since 5, but it was a good time.
It's fulfilling now that we're finished.
We had a nice little 2-hour bonding time.
Yeah. We just
the pod bros.
hung out. Yeah.
Just the pod bros. Just the pod bros.
Oh. The decomers.
Yep. Always be decalming.
Decalming.
A, B, C, D. Always be calming.
Oh
D's.
What is happening?
I love this movie. I think this might be a top 10.
Wow.
For me. It's dumb as hell.
Oh.
Obviously, Pete sucks, but Cletus, classic character. Never forget Cletus. Yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't get the hate. This movie's wild.
So I'm curious, do you think that he continues to be the chicken after this? Or do we think the chicken's just retired because Mitchell Musso's character is allergic and maybe...
This is way too deep of a question.
You know?
I think he would continue.
You think Pete would continue to do it?
Yeah.
And then Cletus can maybe, get some kind of side mascot gig without allergy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because Cletus has to get his, too. He's got to get his beak wet, if you know what I'm saying.
It's darn tootin'. Rasputin.
Well, in the interest of us not delaying this too much longer...
9/11?
Could Cletus... We'll say
Yes.
Pete definitely could not have stopped 9/11. Could Cletus...
Wow. Cletus.
Is it kind of a cop-out for us to still be like, Cletus was actually in on 9/11? But he was like in the Bush administration side. Now with Al-Qaeda, he was, in the real conspiracy corner of it. Actually, no, that's more what Cletus... He becomes a conspiracy theorist, like a YouTuber kind of thing.
He would have convinced him that crashing the planes is his fault, and the Al-Qaeda members would have thought, oh, no, well, we don't want to make him sad. And, just like that psycho, thing he did with Pete, he tried to reverse psychology. He would have reverse psychologied him, and it would not have. He would have saved him.
Write us at awholenewpod@gmail.com if you watch this. I think watch this movie. Seems to get a lot of hate. Seems to be underrated, underviewed.
It's weird.
You've gotten a message in a while.
We have not. Thank you for pointing that out, Dustin.
It's been awfully dry in there.
Yeah.
Which, hey.
Moisten our lips.
But yes, that's awholenewpod@gmail.com. Find us on Apple Podcasts. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us on there. Recently learned, apparently, subscribing isn't a thing on Apple Podcasts anymore. It's all you follow
us,
a show,
stalk us.
That.
Yeah,
I don't know what's wrong with saying subscribe.
Twitter,
what's wrong?
Emails, YouTube.
What's the sub count on YouTube?
It's like 355 or something.
Jeez,
not blowing any records.
We're getting
not getting
there,
that
though.
play button anytime soon.
We're
at youtube.com/awholenewpod. Like, comment, subscribe to us on there. That's where you want to get your thoughts out about Hatching Pete. Certainly welcome. And
you could also tweet at us, too.
Yes.
If you want to tweet thoughts, opinions,
prayers,
or what you're looking forward to.
Appreciation for us making it through this whole episode.
That's
Trials and Tribulations.
On Twitter at AWNPod.
Yeah.
And I apologize to Dustin earlier. I put it on the record again here that I did not plug the Twitter last episode. So mea culpa right now. And we're available on various other podcast platforms, wherever you like to listen. Hopefully we're on there. And yeah, we're done. Fuck XL Energy.
Don't get me wrong, I love animals. I just love to eat them more. Fun to pet, better to chew. I do feel bad they have to be killed. I prefer it was like an animal suicide. Maybe the animal deserved it. This is a good chicken sandwich. I think this bastard tried to steal my car.